Hello everyone, this is Jim Kozak from the Davie Resource Group's IT Services Department. In this installment of the TK8 video tutorial series, we will continue with our introduction to TreeKeeper for TreeKeeper users. So today I'm going to give a quick tour of the system, and this is going to be a high-level overview. We're really going to talk today about sites, calls, work, and how this searching mechanism in TreeKeeper 8 has been streamlined, making it more comprehensive. We'll also cover reports, and I want to cover how these videos will be sort of short and modular in nature. The reason for that is so that if anybody ever wants to come back and revisit any topics, they don't have to sit through an hour-long video just to get a short tutorial on calls or work, for example. So let's go ahead and get started. As I said in the last video, when you navigate to the TreeKeeper URL, you're basically at the public-facing or guest access site. So in order for a TreeKeeper user to log in, there's a login icon here in the upper right-hand corner. We'll go ahead and select that, enter our username and password, and select Login. When you log into TreeKeeper, you'll notice that there's a few additional icons over here, and there's a few that obviously weren't covered in the guest section, so I'm going to go over those now. And the first tool in the tool tray that we'll cover is adding sites. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is where you would go to select whether you want to add a point to the system. You select the point, drop it, and you can either use load last or fill out the form or apply a rule, and the site will be entered. The next section that wasn't covered before is the data transfer utilities. So that's this up and down arrow, and this gives you access to the data transfer utility tools. The next section that we didn't cover was updating logins. So if a user wants to change his or her password, this is the section that you would go to. For administrative users, there's the Administration Center where you have your account management and administrative list tools. And finally, we come to the search tool, which has a few additional bits of functionality based on whether or not you're logged in as a guest or logged in as a TreeKeeper user. So, quick tour over the search menu is first is the quick filters. Basically, any search that you do can be saved as a quick filter. Any of the quick filters that you already have can be edited, and you can simply select a quick filter and your search will be performed. The next new tool is the Inline data layer picker. So I can search inline if I'm working on street trees, or in the case of this system, vacant lots. But this could be street trees and park trees, or street trees, park trees, private trees. Whatever layers that you have in your system, you will be able to search for those inline here in the search window. And so, as I said at the beginning, the TreeKeeper 8 has been reworked to streamline searching and to make it more comprehensive. So what I mean by that is, really, in TreeKeeper, you can do a search for sites, you can do a search for calls, you can do a search for work records, or you can do a search for work orders. But essentially, what you have to understand is whether you do a search for any one of these things, you're actually going to be receiving all of those that apply to the search you have performed. So I'll show a quick example. I'll do a site search, and I have my system broken out by species information, site information, and risk information. And I'm going to go ahead and do a site search. I'll just do a quick search for the street Adamile Drive and hit search. Once I hit search, the system will automatically zoom me in on the map where I can see all of the sites that match my search criteria. Those sites are also highlighted in yellow. As a side note, a few things I can do to help identify sites or to just customize the view of the system is I can, for example, turn on Google Satellite View. I could also turn off the other street trees so that the only thing that appears in my site are the sites that I queried for. The site matches screen will come up from the bottom in TreeKeeper 8, and I have the ability to raise or lower the site matches screen using the screen separator tool here represented by this gray line. Selecting a site will center that site, it'll highlight it, and it'll bring up a high-level call-out box for that particular site. I can also do the same thing on the site matches screen. If I want to find out which site this is on the map, I can simply push pin that site. That site will become highlighted, center on the screen, and the corresponding high-level call-out box will appear for that site. A quick tour over the site matches screen. As I said before, when you perform a search in TreeKeeper 8 for either sites, calls, work, or work orders, you actually get all 4 of them, and they're represented in the tabs here at the upper left-hand corner of the site matches screen. So currently I'm on the site window, and all the information I'm viewing here is site information. I can switch over to calls, and I can view all of the calls that are associated to these sites. So I can see there's a total of 26 sites, but there's a total of 46 calls associated to those sites. And also associated to those sites, there are 76 work records. And for those work records, there's a total of 76 work records, but those are spread across 4 work orders. So for example, if I select Jenkins work, I have isolated the 34 work records that are associated to the work order Jenkins work. For Jim's Tuesday work, there's 28 work records, and for Jim's pet inspections, there's 26 work records. Another feature of the site matches screen, in addition to being able to raise it, lower it, hide it completely, you can also undock it. So for example, if you're working at a desktop computer and you're using 2 screens, the way that I do, you could have the data completely on one monitor and the map completely on another monitor. And even though the site matches screen is undocked, if you were to make adjustments in the sites that you were pinning, those are still associated to the map. So, and to redock the site matches screen, you simply close it and it'll automatically redock. The next thing I want to talk about the site matches screen is the fact that there's a context-aware menu set here. So for example, if I have one site selected, I'm able to view that site, but I'm not able to make a global edit to it. I would be able to apply a rule, I would be able to add a work record, I would be able to add a call, or I would be able to delete the site if I have administrative privileges. The delete tool is only viewable or available to administrators. If I select multiple sites, so here I have 2 or 3 sites selected, now I'm not able to view that individual site because that's a task that would be handled if you were just looking at one site. But I am able to globally edit these 3 sites. So selecting the global edit tool would be able allow me to make a change that once applied would affect only those 3 sites. I also have the ability to use the selection tool to basically select all of my selections or deselect all. So as you can see now, if I were to switch over to work, for example, and I were to select one work record, I have the ability to view the work, but I don't have the ability to globally edit the work. If I were to select all of the work records, I can't view all of the work records at once. Let me actually restate that because I am actually viewing all of the work records at once here, but I'm not viewing an individual work record. Here, I'm also able to make a global edit. I'm able to apply a rule. I'm able to create a work order from these work records, or I'm able to globally delete them. The next thing I want to talk about is when you select a site, to get to information on that site specifically. So if I switch over to this site right here, again, that site will become centered. I'll have a high-level call-out box. Note that if I have taken any photos and uploaded the photos to the site, the photos will appear as a thumbnail in the call-out box. To view high-level information about a particular site, or to drill down into that site, you simply click the high-level call-out box. That will allow you to view the full information for that particular site. And again, we've added categories where we can separate species information, site information, risk information, etc. So any way that you would like to separate the information, we can add that in the TreeKeeper system as well. So now I'm viewing information about the site itself, and in the upper right hand corner, I'm currently on the tree information tab, but I could also switch over to the call information tab, and this is information on calls that have been associated to this site. I can switch to the work tab, and this will give me the work record history of the site. I can switch to the tree benefits tab. This will give me the tree benefits for this particular site, individual site, and I can look at the archives. So all of the archives are kept from when the site is initially inventoried. Every change that's made to a site is recorded, who made the change and when, and each of the changes are highlighted so you can see what was changed from one iteration to the next. I want to go back to the call tab and talk a little bit about the calls. So you can see for this particular site, there's 2 calls associated to it. Jim Kozak called in on this site on May 2nd, and Amanda called in, and a call was recorded for the site on May 4th. For each of these calls, I have the complete information, all of the callers' information, and the reason why they called here in the comment section. If that call required a work record or resulted in a work record, I'm able to view the associated work for that particular call. So you can see, again, now we're over here on the work tab. I have the 4 work records, but this particular work record highlighted in green is the work record that was the result of Amanda's call. And I can always switch back and forth between the caller information and the work record information. If I switch over to the caller Jim Kozak and go to view his work record, this is the work record associated to Jim Kozak. And again, I can toggle back and forth between the call and the reason for the call, the date, the call taken by, etc., and the work record. That is a quick tour of the view site screen. Again, I'd like to reiterate that the purpose of today's video was to give a basic overview and an understanding of where the tools are. Our next video will cover each of the individual tools in greater detail. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.